Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one is a very disturbing story that I have to share with you that is encapsulated around mental illness for sure, young people making poor decisions and not navigating their way through life in the appropriate manner, family dynamics, and here again, untreated mental illness at its highest form. And I want to tell you that this story, there's a warning, there's graphic content, viewer discretion is advised, but I think it's very important to share these stories and how people are suffering through helplessness and hopelessness. And this is a very troubling story. So let's get into it. It's straight out of Colorado. Chilling moment when a Colorado 19-year-old teen killer confessed to storing victim's severed head in his closet. Disturbing footage has captured the moment a 19-year-old from Colorado confessed to killing a missing homeless man and storing his severed head and hands inside his closet. Brian Cohey was just 19 years old when he murdered 69-year-old Warren Barnes back in 2021. In February 2023, Cohey was found guilty of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole. 19 years old, just at the beginning of his life, and it's been destroyed. Now it has emerged that Cohey nonchalantly admitted to Barnes' murder, telling responding officers that he was curious to know what killing someone would feel like. "I've always wondered what murder felt like," he said. Police responded to the home in Colorado on March 1st, 2021, after Cohey's parents made the gruesome discovery of Barnes's head and hands inside Brian Cohey's closet. A Mesa County press release details. In body camera footage from his arrest, police questioned Cohey outside his home. "Your parents have concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room. What would it be?" an officer asked. "A human head and hands," Brian Cohey responded calmly to the officer. "From that fella that went missing recently." How did you end up with him?" the officer asked, to which Cohey confessed, "I murdered him." When asked with what, Cohey replied, "A knife." He also identified the victim to the officer. When the officer asked why he had killed him, Brian Cohey simply said that he wondered what would murder feel like. In other chilling moments in the footage, Brian Cohey's mother, Terry Cohey, was seen having to relive the moment that she discovered the decomposing head and hands. "I was in his room cleaning up, putting some things away, and he has a Rubbermaid container in his closet," she said. "And so I just kind of started digging through it. I saw a plastic bag, and I was like, what in the world does he have in here? I picked it up, and it was heavy. I held it in my hands, and maggots were covering something that I didn't know what it was. I carried it out to the sink. It was double bagged." Ms. Cohey explained through tears, saying that she didn't open the second bag after the first layer and immediately called her husband. As Cohey's parents called 911, they admitted to the dispatcher that their son did display a fascination with the morbid. So the parents had some inclination, and many times they do, that there was something troubling going on with their son through his development. And in recent times, even through him having this high propensity for morbid issues and death. The YouTube channel also showed footage of Cohey telling police investigators how he carried out the deadly attack on the homeless man. He said, "I was driving along and I see a shape there on the rail track. So I am like, oh, interesting," Cohey said in a police interview. "I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grabbed my knife. I put on 3 layers of gloves because plastic gloves can betray their users because they're so thin. I took the knife, I pulled back the canvas, and I stabbed him in his neck," Cohey said. He was panicking at first, Cohey said, adding that he carried it out repeatedly by stabbing him until the gentleman died. At the time of his murder, Barnes had been sleeping rough near Crosby Avenue in Mesa County. It was later revealed that Brian Cohey, attempted to get rid of the rest of Barnes' body at the Blue Heron boat ramp, where his car got stuck in the Colorado River. At his 2021 trial, Brian Cohey pleaded not guilty by insanity, claiming that he was diagnosed with mental health disorders and environmental stressors that caused him to become insane when he saw Barnes, the Mesa County release said. 2 psychologists examined Brian Cohey for his insanity plea and concluded that he was not insane. A 3rd psychologist on behalf of the defense disagreed, finding that Brian Cohey was experiencing a psychotic episode that rendered him insane. Ultimately, jurors found him guilty of murder, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with evidence. What is the point of this entire story? Well, this has enthralled in family dynamics. Of course, we as parents watching the development of our children in our homes, from 0 all the way up to at least 18 when they are leaving high school. If you have multiple kids, you know that each one of your children apply different skill sets and different personality traits. And parents have a pretty good idea of what's going on with their children. The Coheys, the parents, did express that they were troubled by seeing signs of Brian having a propensity for death, morbid kinds of experiences. But of course, we don't think, or I wouldn't think, that they ever thought that their son would actually go ahead and commit murder against another human being, let alone a homeless man, somebody that's very vulnerable, that's out living on the street, trying to mind his own business and navigate himself through life. This was a 69-year-old gentleman, Warren Barnes, who unfortunately lost his life at the hands of this 19-year-old kid, Brian Cohey. Mr. Barnes' life is over. And of course, the 19-year-old Brian Cohey, his life is over, and he will spend the rest of his life in jail. I talk about it all the time on my channel, that there are several pillars that are destroying the moral fabric of our society. Mental health, undiagnosed and untreated mental health is right at the top. The opioid crisis, homelessness, gun violence, inept inner city public schools, laxed liberal crime laws that allow people to commit crimes and not have to pay the price for the crimes they commit. It is destroying our society as a whole. And we have an entire generation that's in that age group, I think between 14 all the way up to 30, that we may lose an entire generation of folks based on helplessness, hopelessness, mental health issues, social media issues and stresses. And we as the older and the elders in society need to pay attention, reach out and teach out to these young folks, mentor, and try to save an entire generation that we may lose. We have overly sexualized music. There are so many propensities that these young people are dealing with and facing in today's time that I think many of them don't know which way to go. I think in this particular situation, this kid has been troubled for a very long time, and him having a strong desire to experiencing killing someone and experiencing death by his own hands is something that's very diabolical, that's very demonic, and I wish that he had placed himself in the system where he could have gotten help, and maybe Mr. Barnes would still be alive today. But this does go back where the family has to look in the mirror. There are family dynamics that play a part in this. Parenting. Was this Brian Cohey just a bad kid from day one? Or did he have a mental health breakdown that was so severe that he had to lash out and destroy someone's life? Those are the questions we have to ask. But this is a very unfortunate circumstance. 2 lives have been lost. 2 families have been destroyed. Mr. Barnes lost his life at the hands of Brian Cohey, and Cohey will spend the rest of his life in prison. And as we know, in prison, there is no rehabilitation. And unfortunately, if he doesn't end up in a mental institution but goes straight to prison, he will probably end up worse by the time he spends a number of years in prison than when he went into prison. You're talking about all kinds of criminals and negative energy that is going to be displayed in these U.S. penitentiaries that this young man probably does not have a chance on earth or in hell to have any kind of rehab and have a positive outcome for the rest of his life that he's going to spend in our United States prison. This is an unfortunate story. Tell me what you think about this 19-year-old Colorado teen killer who confessed to killing a homeless man and storing the victim's severed head and his hands in his own closet, and his parents found it. What a sad story. Tell me what you think. This has been a Trevor Donald Experience.